If you've been watching any of my videos or if you subscribe to my channel, you might be wondering who I am. I realize that in most of my videos, I don't even really introduce myself. I guess, like many people, I'm a bit shy, but enough people have asked me about myself that I thought I would just do a real short video and try to explain a little bit about my background so you can understand more why I've been motivated to start this channel. I've been a physical therapist for 30 years. I graduated in 1993, and primarily for 30 years, I've worked with people who had strokes, neurological injuries, head injuries, brain damage, and also just older people that have had falls. And over the years, I've been asked to just try to help these people regain their balance, regain their function, regain their mobility. What I learned in physical therapy school way back in the 90s is actually the same thing that a lot of therapists are still taught today. We were taught different techniques and different approaches to try to help people regain their balance and recover after brain injuries. We're also taught a lot about how to work with people who have orthopedic problems. And for years, I really felt like I was more interested in neurological problems than orthopedic problems. But as a physical therapist, you definitely see both kinds of patients. And I always would advertise myself, especially when I went into private practice, to the doctors that neurology and patients with neuro injury was really my focus. And I felt like I was pretty good at it. And sometime in around 2008, I had a client who was a physician herself and was beginning to develop Parkinson's. She kind of challenged me, and she asked me why the things I was doing, why they were effective, or why I thought that this would help her. And at that point, I had a pretty good understanding of why I was doing what I was doing. So I explained to her, the basis and kind of what I had learned in physical therapy school. And she said to me, you're really nice, but I've worked with 3 other therapists. You guys all do the same things. I believe that there's newer treatments out there. Why aren't you offering me what the most current treatment is? And for some reason, I felt very challenged by that, but I listened to her and started reading. And the more I read, the more I realized that the stuff I had learned in physical therapy school wasn't really the most up-to-date information on how to effectively help people regain their balance and stop falling. And I read and read, and the more I read, the more I began to understand that there were just different approaches to this than what I was doing. And believe it or not, I ended up getting so interested in this topic that I ended up going back to physical therapy school and earning a doctorate. When I went to PT school, physical therapists couldn't get doctorates, but now there's a thing called the DPT, and a lot of programs offer people like me that had gone to school a long time ago to come back and gain a doctorate by basically doing the coursework that we hadn't gotten when I went to school the first time. So I did that, and I found a school that actually let me focus on strokes and research on balance and regaining balance and reducing falls. And along that way, I began to really develop an approach to helping people with their balance and helping people not fall. One of my offices is actually at a retirement center, and I had a great population of people in Hawaii, where I live. The people are much older that are in retirement centers than on the mainland. In fact, the average patient that I work with is in their 90s. I know when I used to live in Florida, and people were in retirement centers that were a little bit younger. So it's kind of funny how Hawaii is. People here tend to be a lot fitter a lot later in life. But still, at some point they start to need help. So I was working with a lot of older people that were falling, and I began to apply some of the things that I had read about in these research articles as a form of therapy. And really what I'm talking about is what I now call proprioceptive rehabilitation. So really what I did was, instead of working on strength training and some of the techniques I had learned back in the 90s, I focused just on challenging their balance, on finding things that mimic their normal functions during the day. And I created activities that mimic those things to challenge them and to progressively introduce challenges and get them better. And what I found was this was really effective. It was amazing the results that I was getting. And my patients noticed it after a while. Some of the doctors that referred to me noticed it. And I began to see that this really was the way things should be, that physical therapists should be focusing on proprioceptive rehabilitation, looking at things that challenge proprioception, vestibular sense, helping people relearn balance programming, and also that all activities really should be from a functional perspective. What that meant was the old way of doing things, of just having someone come into the gym and doing exercises or weightlifting or resistance training or core strengthening, because none of those had really been shown to be effective in helping people with their balance. I just stopped doing them. I focused on the things that the research said was the most effective. And it worked. My practice grew. I began to help more and more people. At this point, I'm happy to say I have people from other islands in the island chain coming to our island to get therapy. I've even had patients come from places like Guam and the Philippines to get therapy with us. And what I also learned was that we really aren't the only ones that are doing this type of therapy. I'm an instructor for a lot of physical therapy programs. I have students that come to us and they do their clinical rotations. And what I've seen is that some schools are still teaching the same stuff that I learned, back in the 90s. But some schools have really moved forward, and they're teaching that functional training is really the way to go, and that training proprioception and balance programming can work, and it's actually highly effective. So I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to see that, because I realize that my mission in my life is to try to help people understand that they don't have to give up their balance, that they don't have to stop walking. The biggest thing that I see on a daily basis with all of our clients is that they're at risk of losing the ability to walk. And nothing in your life is more life-changing and life-altering, really, than that. I mean, I guess there's probably other bad things, but one thing that's very preventable for a lot of people is losing your ability to walk. And I work with people every single day that we're told by doctors, by the hospital, by other therapists, you'll never walk again. And usually, most of the time, I can get them to walk. And I'm not doing anything that special. I'm really just applying the things that I learned by reading the latest research, and it works. Highly challenging balance activities are very effective in getting people to get their balance back again. Basically, what I do is I take people through exactly the same steps that we all go through when we learn to walk and balance ourselves. That's what works. Human beings are basically predisposed to reacting to those same challenges. So if you want to know what I do that's different, I do the same stuff that you do with a small child when you're trying to get that child to walk. You don't instruct them. You don't take them to the gym. You let them pull up to a piece of furniture, learn to balance themselves on 2 feet, and then by repeatedly trying it, learn to take a single step. I'm dedicated to spreading the word about how to improve your balance, how to reduce your falls, and I'm trying to get people to avoid doing the things that just aren't as effective. So if you want to learn how to walk again, or if you want to know how to improve your balance, I hope that my channel is something that helps you. And I've been very excited about how well the channel has done and how many people I've been able to reach. And I do read every single comment that goes on there. And I'm surprised and happy to say that most of the comments are very nice and very appreciative for what I've done. And I even try to answer people's questions the best I can, through this medium. So if you want to learn more about this, please subscribe to my channel, and I thank you